All right, we're on the inside of this house, and what do you look for in general on the interior of a property?
So usually interior, the biggest thing I'm always looking for is moisture intrusion. Okay. So, I'm looking at the ceiling, in the walls, see if there's any signs of roof leaks, any signs of any plumbing leaks in the walls. Again, I keep a moisture meter on me, so I'm not checking every single spot, but if there's something that looks like possible moisture intrusion, I'm putting a meter on it to try to get an idea of how active it is. Again, it's not always a guarantee, but at least you can kind of tell, hey, is it an active plumbing leak in the wall? Is there a roof leak going on? I'm also looking at the condition of the wall materials. Drywall cracking is a big one of looking for any excessive drywall cracking. I tell clients, all drywall cracks for a lot of different reasons. You get bad tape seams, you get expansion and shrinkage of the wood. But if you're, got a 1/4 inch diagonal crack, usually that's an indicator that you got something structural foundation issue going on. So I'm kind of looking for indicators like that. I'm checking light switches, making sure lights work. I'm checking receptacles to make sure not only do they work, but they're wired properly. You get a lot of different conditions. One of the most common ones is what I call reverse polarity, which is the hot and the neutral. They just hook them up to the wrong side. And it can be a safety hazard. So going around checking that, in a kitchen, I'm checking to make sure, the burners work, there's proper ventilation, your oven works, checking the flow of the water, looking under the sink for any leaks, any mold. That's a huge area. That's another thing. So we don't test for mold. You can't even technically call it mold unless it's tested, but looking for any, call it microbial growth underneath the sink. If there's any leaks, you get that a lot, especially in rentals if it hasn't been being taken care of. You'd be surprised the stuff I've seen underneath underneath sinks, that kind of stuff. Looking at outlets, looking for GFCI protection, which protects you pretty much from shock. It's required for when it's within 6 feet of a water source. So you see them in kitchens, bathrooms, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the stuff I'm checking for. Flooring material, is the flooring in relatively decent shape? Again, there's a fine line. We don't get too much into cosmetics, but if, all this tile's cracked and, displaced from the mortar bed, obviously a potential buyer is going to want to know that.
Makes sense.
So.
Cool.
And then, I like to make my way through the home. Usually I have a system, I'll do this whole room, check everything, and then kind of slowly make my way through the home.
Right.
So bathrooms, bathrooms are another big one, especially when you're on a raised foundation. I'm checking to make sure the toilet's not loose. That's a super common problem. The toilet gets loose, and what happens is that wax ring, the seal breaks, and then you get a slow leak. Now, when it's on a slab, it's not a huge deal, but when you're on a raised foundation and you got joists and subfloor, then it can rot that out and turn into a problem down the road. Same thing, I'm running, the shower, seeing if there's any leaks, running the sink, any kind of plumbing fixture. The big one is checking for any leaks, anything like that. Checking doors and windows, making sure they all open properly. Again, that can be an indicator of foundation problems, is if your windows are all crooked, not opening properly, doors aren't shutting properly. That's another kind of good indication.
That's a total tell, right?
Yeah, so again, just checking bathrooms, make my way throughout the home, and then the last thing I do is then I run the HVAC system. So if you got heater, AC, one, the other, both, then I'm checking it to make sure that it functions properly. I have a temperature gun. I shoot all the registers, make sure the registers are putting out the temperature they should be. Make sure you got required safety devices such as smoke detectors, carbon monoxide alarms, all that kind of stuff.
I get the question often, how many smoke alarms and how many carbon monoxide are you supposed to have in a home?
So it's all based on the location. So it's tough. So now new homes, there's very strict requirements. So usually I go off a basic standard for all homes at a minimum should have one in the hallway servicing the bedrooms on each level of the home. And same goes for carbon monoxide. It should be in the hallway servicing the bedroom and on each level of the home. Now with smoke detectors, I always recommend hallway, each bedroom, each level. You can never really have too much of those. And that's the other I think common misconception we get is, one of the most common questions I get is, well, is it up to code? Is this to code? Is this, we're not code inspectors. I can't come into a 1920s home before there was really much code and be like, well, nothing's up to code. There wasn't really a code, No code. That's why we're just general safety, it's not working. Now, we do use code for certain things, for like that. But again, it's all kind of this dance of, you're looking more so what's wrong, not necessarily to code, because I can nitpick all day in old home what's not up to code, so.
Absolutely. Well, cool. This has been more insightful than I was expecting. This is awesome information, and we'll do one more outside in just a second.